also would like to advocate that the land goes back to traditional sort of land ownership. That's my 3 minutes. And one concept around that is usufruct, which I can explain a bit about, but don't have time to go into that now. And then there's also a picture, if anyone wants to have a look at this, what a small 2,000 square meter, this is a half an acre small holding agroecological farm looks like, just in case people are concerned that this would create sort of urban sprawl and that sort of thing. I think that can be addressed with strict planning requirements. I've also advised, the use of natural local building materials and things like that to allow people to build within a framework. So in summary, there's a whole, all the benefits are on here as well. I know there's a local development or local neighborhood plan which is being developed, and I'm hoping to get into contact with the people doing that. But I wanted to bring this to attention. I think there's a massive opportunity to solve housing problems, create more food. In this insecure world at the moment, if we don't have food coming from outside through Tesco's and Morrison's, people living in Glastonbury will not be very happy. So I'm going to leave a copy here for anyone who wants to read. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Matt. Mark,
any questions?
We have got time for a couple of questions if people wish. Councillor Smythe?
That's very interesting. It's right up my street. I did a thesis on it back in 1990. So, have you approached Somerset County Council? And if not, that would be a very good thing. And give them a presentation, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Do you have any inroads that you advise me to take there, or
pardon?
Any particular approach?
We have a county councillor here. Nick Cottle, he's our county councillor.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I was going to ask a question anyway, and that actually goes on from what was going through my mind. You've come here and spoke to Glastonbury. Why don't you book an appointment to come and speak to the full council of Somerset down at Bridge? Well, we hold them in Bridgewater. Okay. And it would be a good idea. You can get your 3 minutes there, or maybe a bit longer if the chairman's feeling generous. And it would be good to put that across, because there are people who would be interested to hear what you've got to say.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not. If you need any help in getting in touch or whatever, just give me you can find my telephone number online quite easily, or my email. And
what's your name, Nick?
Nick Cottle, Cottle.
Thank you so much, Nick.
And, yeah, just get in touch with me and I'll sort it for you if you like.
Yeah, I'll follow up with. I thought I had my pen and sheet, but I don't. But I'll remember that. Thanks.
So, Mark, if we have your details, we can pass it to Nick and others.
Yeah, it's on the back.
It's on the back.
Oh, yes, it's on the back anyway.
Yeah, so I think it does make sense, because part of the National Planning Framework does talk about local development plans. I think those are typically coordinated on a county level. So, thank you for your advice there. I will follow that up. Great.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Mudge?
Well, Your Worship, this might be the blindingly obvious, but from what I've gathered from this thumbnail overview, it seems to imply that we've got the authority to divide all the land up, but it's all owned by farmers.
So in that approach, the land is owned by farmers, of course, and it would be willing buyer, willing seller. But the way that the National Planning Framework works is that if Glastonbury or the Somerset says, we can promote small-scale farming, the planning authorities are then mandated to support that. So if a big, let's say the farmer in Bradley who's got 1,000 acres and he's mad along working his farming, he decides this is too much for me, I'm going to give 400 acres to this initiative, and that would, you could then, if you had this built into your local plans, the planning authority would be mandated to allow that to happen. At the moment, the planning, if you tried such a move, the planning authority would not let you do that. As far as my understanding of planning authorities, they're very reluctant to subdivide farms and allow small-scale subdivisions or changes to usufruct and all these other things which just aren't possible at the moment. And that's why we need to allow them to create the environment to allow this to happen from a planning perspective, and then it will naturally happen in the real world.
So I've got three more people want to say something, and then we'll have to move on, which is Serena, Michael, and Indra.
It's very quick. The person who originated the 5 Mile Food and Farming project that we did with the 5 Mile radius and the 5 farms for the 5 months is called Joe Joseph. He's a local farmer. He's part of the NFU. I recommend you talk with him and work with him because he is very much involved. He's been involved with Fried and all sorts, and he could definitely help you in the right way.
Exactly. I have been chatting with him, and I've come to the last 4 food and farming forum meetings of this. Thank you for that advice.
Do you have any sense what the new Labour government is thinking in regard to this sort of stuff?
Well, I know that they've spoken about taking grey belts and things like that.
Yeah, I was just reading.
I would be reluctant to take away hominages, and I would rather focus on taking land which is currently not that productively utilised. As I said before, the peasants back 1,000 years ago, if you look at the Doomsday records, were 4 times more productive per hectare than the current farmers, and that's mostly because it's. I mean, I do like sheep farming, but I think it's gone a bit too far.
Indra?
Thank you. Serena actually covered what I was going to say, which was about the 5 Mile food and farming, thank you. But also, just kind of, so he's done an awful lot of work with farmers, as you probably know, because in Friday as well. But it's about the transition, so it's about farmers, obviously, it's about the transition from farmers who possibly, like you say, can't farm their own land. The weather's got to them, phosphates have got to them, it's come around our site, all these kind of things. So it's to kind of help them transition. So I'm just thinking that's, for landowner that's already owned by farmers, I think just carrying on going down Joe Joseph. But obviously, do the council, and good luck with the county.
Yeah, thank you very much. We'll pull up all those leads. Great.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you.
Very interesting. So that's our only public participation for tonight. I should have said at the beginning, it's hardly worth saying, but there's no fire drill planned for tonight. Terry will be pleased for me saying this. There's no fire drill planned. If the fire alarm goes off, let's take it seriously. But I'd like to invite Ray. Would you like to come and light the candle? Unity candle. Reg, would you care to come and light the Unity candle for us? There should be the lighter just there.
It's just in the box.
And then we'll stand for the silent minutes.
Light up your life, Reg.
Yeah, I know. Done that many times.
Reg, don't throw in your hands.
There you go.
Master lay down.
Thank you, everyone. So we'll do the first couple of items on the agenda. Then I'd like to move item 9 up the agenda, if you agree, so that Matt, who's with us tonight, can make a presentation and then be off. But before that, let's do declarations of interest, if any have changed since the last meeting. Do we have any extra declarations of interest? Nope. Can we approve and sign the minutes of the last meeting?
They were circulated in advance, Chair. Let me just quickly find I will also just mention there's no video for tonight's stream, but I have got the audio working. I do not know what's happened to the camera. That's why I was in the loft trying to turn it off and on again, and that didn't work. So I will
Valiant try.
sort it for the next meeting.
Does he know?
Who's that?
Mr. Knickerbocker.
Yes.
Yeah,
He
Brian.
messaged me. He always messages me beforehand going, where's the minutes?
Well, he can listen to us.
Yeah.
So the minutes will come. The minutes are here. Great.
Copy.
I'll scroll through them quickly, Chair, because you can take them as read
sorry,
unless there are
Terry.
any corrections.
As I wasn't here for the last meeting, I have to declare an interest in Street Parish Council. Sorry about that.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done.
So the minutes of the 11th of June, page 18. Page 19. Page 20. Page 21. Page 22. And page 23. Oh, sorry, Councillor Osborne.
I'm a bit discombobulated to find that Councillor Hart was absent, is noted in these minutes. Councillor Hart isn't summoned to this meeting. Therefore, she's not absent from it. She's not summoned. Can you strike that, please?
Yeah, if you'd like. Normally I note if councillors give apologies, but yes, there's no other real way of noting that I didn't have apologies and Councillor Hart wasn't present, but if you'd prefer I use a different terminology, I don't really mind.
Well, it just seems slightly bizarre. I mean, the Archbishop of Canterbury wasn't present either, but he wasn't summoned. So, you know.
So we'll consider a different form of words.
Fine.
Serena?
I have only been a councillor for 5 years, but in my previous experience with Councillor Liz Lation, who was not a town councillor but was our Mendip district councillor, no, our Somerset
Councillor.
she would come to every meeting and give a report. And so I understood that our Glastonbury Somerset councillor would actually be present at the meetings and give reports. And so I understood that's why the absent was there, because my experience was our Somerset councillor would always be present at every monthly meeting and give a report. So for me, the fact of her not being here is odd, because it's my experience that the Somerset County Councillor will attend these meetings and will give a report.
I think there has been an assumption of that, but she's not summoned. She's not sent any minutes.
She's a chair.
She's not sent anything.
So we'll consider a different form of words. That's fine. Thank you. Anything else on page 23? And then 24 should be unproblematic. So with that possible correction, are we happy for me to sign the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you very much. And Connor, would you like to do an update on actions from the last meeting?
Yes, Your Worship. The Property and Assets Committee considered the booking form. The booking policy had recently been updated and has adequate mechanisms for the Town Council refusing a booking it doesn't wish to take. But the booking form is what was updated to glean some more information. So hopefully we can avoid similar situations and upset in the future. Our lovely assistant town clerk has had a long lesson on how to spell all of your surnames. That hopefully shouldn't happen again. The subject of the EV charger was referred to Property and Assets to consider, and they did consider it, and there's an action in place around what we're going to do with the EV charger. The responsible finance officer looked at the last budget monitoring report, and it was an error in the formula in the Excel spreadsheet, so that's been corrected for this meeting, so apologies for that. There hasn't yet been a meeting of the Asset and Service Devolution Subcommittee that was established at the meeting. That's because we haven't had substantive information to warrant a meeting. I have had more information on that topic, that there is going to be a key decision rather than in October, in September. And a paper went to the Asset Management Group about Glastonbury whilst an officer was away on holiday. He informed me before he left for holiday that a paper was going to Asset Management, but didn't send me a copy, so I've got no idea what they were actually reviewing. So I guess we'll wait and see when they're back from annual leave, and hopefully they took into account our wishes and haven't tried to lump in a load of stuff we're not interested in. But that continues with our external support, and as the former Mendip area, we all have a monthly meeting as clerks to understand the progress of devolution and the sort of deals on the table in the other towns, so we all get an equitable deal and someone doesn't get a better deal than anyone else. So that is in progress, but that subcommittee hasn't needed to meet. The application for funding from Avalon Community Energy, the officer at Avalon Community Energy was informed that the Town Council had formally agreed to support it, and they were quite happy to pass that on as part of their application, in addition to the letter that I'd already written ahead of the meeting. We've had the Buskers Charter leaflets printed. I know there are a handful of them available downstairs. I don't know if they have yet been distributed to local businesses. That is something that I can task one of the officers here with. I've only just come back off of a period of annual leave and have a bad back to show for it. But I will ask what the status of that is.
We've got 3 here tonight, if anyone's interested, which Indra has.
Yes, and I will have, there are 1,000 in a box somewhere, and I'll have them distributed. They're on recycled paper. And the other operational decisions arising for the meeting, they were just a matter of course for officers to get on with, so we did do so. Unfortunately, that screen's not refreshing, so I'll sort that one out, Chair, but that's the status on actions.
Oh, yeah. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, I'm going to pick up one that's been on the that's been on social media quite prominent, and that's the enforcement of the Buskers Charter. Do we have anything in place at this moment in time, or are we going to take away and think about that one?
You'll want to ask your colleagues at Somerset Council about that one, Nick. We don't enforce busking.
That's what I was thinking. That's the answer I was looking for. Thank you.
There is a note on the back of the busking leaflet, sorry, Councillor Don Francesco, that mentions that we don't deal with complaints or inquiries about busking. We produce that leaflet as not a goodwill gesture, but in order to try and encourage compliance, but it's not our role to enforce. We don't have that power.
Right, that's what I thought, so that's great. Okay, thank you for confirming.
Councillor Don Francesco, then Manning.
Thank you. Yes, in the Crime and Safety on High Street group, we have asked Somerset to extend the space protection order, which will at least, that'll do for noise or aggravation. That'll kind of give a little bit of a parameter. So just hopefully that's kind of coming your way, your end.
Just further to that, at the last meeting, the town council resolved that we would contact Somerset Council.
Hold on, Paul, I can't hear you quite that well.
At the last full council meeting, this council resolved that we would contact Somerset Council about getting the PSPOs in place, because we don't currently have any PSPOs in the town. So things like dog fouling, dogs off leaves, drink alcohol are not covered at the moment. So it's really a really urgent thing. So we need to get this sorted ASAP.
Okay, can I come back on that. Yeah, before I go off half-cocked at certain people, not here, would it be quite good if the town clerk could write a letter to Somerset asking that it's done?
Well, with respect, that should have happened after the last one.
Yeah.
It has happened. I didn't hear it on the.
No, sorry, because it was one of the actions that came out of so it's just one of the operational ones, but yeah.
Okay, thanks for that. So I can go chasing up now then and feel happy about it. That's okay.
Councillor Cook?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Paul, you've probably heard, it's not so much the problem of dogs off the lead, it's the problem of people with dogs off the lead who have no control of their dog. Consequently, we've had 2 serious attacks on people in the last week. One in Abbey Park, I believe it was, wasn't it? Mm. And then this one with our dear Councillor Lillard here. And you think, you know, where's the, we need enforcement here desperately, you know, for all of these issues. But the dangerous one at the moment is dogs. It's a hell of a dangerous thing. And I've seen people in an state with their dogs lying around, and you know, it's just not good. And I'm a dog owner myself, you know, so, and I know, you know, I look after that damn thing like it's my sister, brother, uncle, or whatever. But I would never dream of having my dog off the lead when there's a danger of other people. I'd take my dog off the lead because I've trained him to be off the lead.
I think we're in agreement.
These people need training.
I think we're in agreement. Action, Councillor Cottle. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, you may be surprised or not surprised to know that I've been in contact with the MP about this in her office, and I have a whole list about the enforcement that was sent to me from the government website, basically, so that we can go through it. And yes, I totally agree, Rick, that something has to be done, because it wasn't just what happened to one of our fellow councillors here. There was this this attack down at I think down behind, well, in Roman Way area anyway, with the really, you know, extra nasty dog. But that person's disappeared apparently. So there isn't, because they tried to track her down, the owner, and that hasn't happened. But yes, I think that's something else for Somerset to look into, because I don't believe the town council had the responsibility for that. I think maybe Conor would like to make sure I'm
responsibility for enforcement of dogs.
Yeah.
No.
It's not town council thing, is it? No. Exactly. So that's something else for me to follow up. Okay.
Okay. Can we move on?
Yeah, thank you very much. That's
okay, Rick.
Because we have been waiting for quite a long time for enforcement in the streets, you know, especially the dogs.
I am on the case.
Thank you, Nick.
So if you're willing, I'd like to move item 9 up to the next one. Is that okay? Do we need to
take Your Worship, could I have a proposal that you'd like to change the order of the agenda, a seconder and then a vote, please?
I'll propose, or second, or whatever.
So proposed by Councillor Cottle, seconded by Councillor Oakton. All those in favour? Thank you. So, Matt, would you like to speak to this?
To this end, and then everybody.
Yeah, come up here. Yeah.
Hey, love it.
So, hello everybody, my name is Matt.
Hi, Matt.
As well as being a tree enthusiast, I'm a graphic designer for my whole life. I've been blessed with the task of creating a representative emblem for the town of Glastonbury, a logo, if you like, that might transform into an entire brand. As we know, Glastonbury means a lot of different things to different people, and with this in mind, we've aimed to create an emblem that represents the different facets for both the population and the visitors to the town. We aim to create a concept which represents the different facets, appeals to a wide audience with differing interests, displays a rich heritage of the town, lends itself to varied presentation across a range of media, and combines all the facets of the town in a coherent way, which is probably the biggest challenge of all. We managed to whittle down the facets, as it were, to religious history, spiritual meaning, industrial and built heritage, myths and legends, and the natural landscape. Personally, as a designer and resident of the town, I wanted to add a bit more depth to the concept, providing learning opportunities, encouraging interaction and investigation, and discovering our town through the logo and the emblems that are surrounding the word Glastonbury. So, with those things in mind, here is our concept scrolling down the screen, with various different ways of presenting the icons. If we scroll down to the grid, so we've got this series of 19 icons. Most of them should be recognisable, right? But there's probably a couple in there that might stump us or cause some intrigue. We've got the Abbey, the Holy Thorn, the Heron representing the wetlands, the War Memorial, Glastonbury, St Michael's Tower, Market Cross, Beckery, Goddess symbol, the bell within the stone of the Siren pilgrimage to Wells, and then the Unity candle. We've got the Pax Cultura emblem, Excalibur, Tudor Rose, the bowl from the Lake Village. The next one is the St Margaret's Chapel bell coat, and then we have the lovely oak leaf in the bottom corner representing our beautiful nature, but specifically the great oak, Skog and Magog. We've got the chalice, the labyrinth, the Cretan labyrinth, and then the chalice well emblem. Did anyone not get any of those?
I read them up, but yeah.
So there was a little bit of consultation we had to do with the emblems that were close to representing the private businesses in the town, such as the Abbey, the Chalice Well, and the Goddess Temple. We asked also St Margaret's Chapel, because they used that in the logo. They all gave permission, and they sent back a specific graphic for us to use in the case of the Chalice Well, which is why it's slightly more embellished than the others, but hopefully not too much to set it apart. The Abbey also provided their silhouette. There were items that we couldn't include. Some people suggested during that feedback stage that we include icons relating to saints. Bridget was one of them. We tried to put the Bridget cross in, but it looked a little bit too much, too indistinguishable. Other items we couldn't include, faiths other than the Christian, goddess, pagan faith. There's nothing necessarily that relates to that directly. However, the Pax Cultura emblem representing art, science and religion, I hope acts as an umbrella that encapsulates those other faiths as well. So yes, there you go. My path through Glastonbury has been one of discovery based on the environment, self-discovery, and I hope that by presenting an emblem like that, that it might help other pilgrims to the town, visitors or residents to dig a little deeper. Yeah, there you are.
So what we're being asked to do tonight, if you've seen the papers, is to agree and adopt the icon, subject to final refinements for use in promotional material and merchandise for retail sale in the information centre, etc. So we're being asked to agree and adopt it. So any thoughts? Councillor Roni Dougal and John Francesco?
So my one query, I think I had several, but you've answered most of them, is that the big sheepskin factory that was known worldwide was Moreland's. So I'm wondering why Bailey's when really it should be Moreland's. And of course Moreland's, there's the Bauhaus building, which was an iconic building in its own time. I know that one looks more industrial with, the way it is. But that's my one query. Why Bailey's rather than Moreland's?
Sure. No specific reason personally, just that was the building that stood out as being most characterful. I also appreciate the existence of the chimney, which is quite prominent dominant aspect of the Glastonbury horizon. The use of the emblems isn't necessarily directly to represent that business or the companies that use that building, but to represent the industrial aspect of Glastonbury as a whole. Because we could. Okay, noted. Thank you. Yeah.
Indra?
I was just going to actually propose that we accept it, but I know there's more things that need to be got on the table.
Mike, then Paul?
It's very, very good. I think you've done a very good job there. You've done a very good job there. I think it's very inclusive, except for the point that my colleague Serena made. I wondered whether we could include the Moorlands gates, which have been renovated and saved and now appear at Herbie's Field. It's a big M, essentially. So that's get a balance, because I think it's fair that both families are represented as part of our historic heritage.
Not McDonald's.
That's noted also. So these things can be tried, and we can, you know, produce a variation with those things included to see how they look. It might turn out that it looks like the McDonald's logo.
Paul?
I think it looks really nice. I think.
Thanks.
Just a couple of comments though. But many years ago, about 5, 6 years ago, the town produced the leaflet 7 reasons to visit Glastonbury, and 2 of them aren't on there.
What were they?
One of them is the Life Museum, and the other one is it's going to be difficult to show, but it's the independent shops, the high street.
Right.
So that's one thing. The other good reason to visit Glastonbury is the park. That's probably gets the biggest crowds. And it would be nice that, I appreciate that there's a similar aspect.
I think what we're kind of trying to balance and fight against is trying to please everybody, and to select emblems that represent those things at the same time. What was the first item you mentioned?
Rural life.
Rural life. So rural life, we've got nature on there already, and as part of the explanation of the logo, we might produce a guidebook that explains each of the items, and then we can embellish on the. There you go. So in this case, we could embellish on the logo and mention these other items that people think should be included. But I think the real challenge is not to overload it with too many icons. Sure.
Nick?
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, Matt, I think you've done a really first-class job, and you can't get everything on there. And one thing I will say, Baileys were more famous than Moorlands at one stage. Remember that they'd done the boxing gloves for
Muhammad Ali
and that. So yeah, it's not exactly, they're not something to be just brushed away. So no, I'm very much in support. Yes.
Any other reflections? Ian?
I'm baffled slightly. All of these images are part of a logo or a collective sort of thing that's going to be used for what?
I think the logo was the first thing we saw when it was Glastonbury with the icons above and below.
Promotional material.
Yeah.
For all our promotional material. Yeah.
It won't necessarily be for the town council or councillor much. This will be for promotional material that comes out of the information centre and out of the tribunal. And if we produce a line of, I don't know, there'll be items for sale. I hate to say merchandise. It sounds really corny. But it may well be that if we produce, some high quality items, there may well be some other outlets on the high street that actually might wish to stock this kind of emblem. What we were trying to achieve was, we very often in the information centre get asked for something that's just branded Glastonbury, but isn't necessarily a picture with just a normal typeface typed over it, or an outline of Glastonbury Tour. So we wanted to reflect, I worked quite a lot with Matt, that, he's explained it, that there are a lot of different aspects to Glastonbury. We sat down and we thought, how on earth can we represent Glastonbury? And the way that we arrived at was something like this. So this will be, there's a variety of different formats. So if you don't look at the screen too closely, so don't make you feel sick. But we'll be able, if I scroll right to the bottom, for instance, there's the opportunity to use them in like a footer. This would be great for like a great big pull-up banner that you just want a generic background.
Yeah.
Love it.
I don't know, but you could put it on all sorts,
Tells everything.
Exactly. That's the kind, but also in promotional materials encouraging people to come to Glastonbury. If you any, sort of destinations, they'll have an icon for that place. That was what I initially talked to Matt about, was an icon for Glastonbury, but we couldn't arrive on any one thing.
Right.
This actually, in a bit of a roundabout way, we wanted these icons for the information centre logo, but it was too busy. But then I thought, I'd like to use the icons. How could we use them? So we kind of came up with this idea that you can use it on a whole range of things, but it's not rebranding the town council. The reason it's come to this council meeting is because I didn't want to just come up with it's not a brand, an icon for Glastonbury, start chucking it on a load of stuff that's going to be in the information centre and using it on promotional material, and then councillors turn around and go, we hate that. So that's why it's come to council this evening. But it's mainly for promotion of Glastonbury and for items that will be for sale in the information centre for tourists, but also potentially,
So we're being asked to agree and adopt it. Any other questions?
I'd like to second Indra's proposal to adopt this, but I'd also like to remind councillors we need to avoid repetitive explanations within this meeting because it just prolongs the meeting. So please have all ears to the ground so we don't have to repeat ourselves. Thank you.
Any other comments, or are we ready to move to vote? Move to vote. So there's been a couple of suggestions made. Can we leave it to you to consider and, if necessary, bring it back to us?
There was one further suggestion from Your Honour as well to the tour to include the tower, to include the hill rather than just the.
So my suggestion, which I haven't said here, was to include Tor Hill rather than just St Michael's Tower. Is that what we want to? Do you want to ask Matt to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was kind of canny that it didn't, but never mind.
That's fine. So all those in favour of proceeding with this?
Caveat to Tor Hill.
With the caveat, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All those against? All those abstaining? So 3 abstentions, I think. Otherwise, thank you very much, Matt.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. So we should move on. We should move on. Can we note the latest crime statistics report? Yep. So the police aren't here, but we can route any questions or comments through the Crime Reduction Committee, which did meet very recently, I believe.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm in that type of mood this evening, so I'm getting better.
Go on then.
Yeah, I don't see burglaries. I just realised that.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had a lot of burglaries in the local area recently. And where would they put that under? What would
Would that be other theft?
Other theft, yeah.
Where's that to? Other theft, there. Yeah. Oh, that's been 11. I think there's been more than that, actually, that I've heard of. So that's interesting. Okay.
Not better.
Anything else to say, or moving on?
Well, that's burglary.
Yeah, the breakdown.
Okay. So to consider the schedule of payments, so there has been a request here that we send our questions in advance to Jane or Connor, and I'd like to thank Serena for doing that. You may have seen the very nice reply she got from Connor or Jane for her questions.
I just want to thank Connor for very speedy and
You're very welcome. Thank you.
pure curiosity on my part, and you satisfied my curiosity.
I like to hear. It's a lot easier to provide that kind of detailed information in advance, because one of Councillor Onyedugal's questions was about a large expenses payment, and I was able to produce the sheet where I claimed those expenses, and it listed every single item and what it was for, as that would be harder in this meeting. I would just be able to say it was expenses, I'll email it out afterward, but I included everyone in on the reply. So if we can ask those queries in advance, it certainly helps me out in being able to explain what the expenditure was for.
So let's move on from that.
I've got a
But I
copy for
think,
you to sign, Your Worship, if council are minded to accept it.
are we
Yeah,
happy to accept?
Aye.
Aye. Terry?
Sorry, I didn't put my question in prior because I wasn't here last month. I'd just like to know what the little dog laughed was.
The what?
It's 3897.
Have that copy back, Your Worship, and I'll have a look what it was.
The little dog laughed.
Yeah.
This one?
That was stock for the information centre. That's a supplier.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them that stock for GIC to sell.
Just wondered what it was.
It must be a company that makes things they sell downstairs.
I went up and down the high street looking for the shop. Little dog laughed. Couldn't find it.
Oh, well, now you know where to go.
Okay, so the next up is the budget monitoring report, where we are, I think it's 3 months into the year. Jane is still planning to give us a different format for this, I think, but it hasn't
So
happened
the
yet.
plan is, Your Worship, we're changing accounting system for next financial year, and that will chuck out much more intuitive reports. I have gone through and highlighted negative variances where it's lower on income or higher on expenditure in red, which obviously you'd expect because we're only a quarter of the way through the year, especially on the income. And then the expenditure, any underspends are highlighted in green, so it just helped things stand out a bit. I did make it net of expenditure and income for the town deal because that skews things.
Councillor Smythe?
Having read and understood and digested this schedule of payments, I recommend that we accept these.
Yeah, I'll second that one.
Happy to move on? I will suffice.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, people. Thank you very much. So the next up is an update from Connor for the St Dunstan's house works.
Thank you, Worship.
Which you can see
asked for
outside
this
the
to be-
window.
asked for it to be a bit of a regular update just to keep councillors informed. If I may, I'm just going to quickly get a copy of the programme. I can find where it is.
It's here.
So, that's the wrong one. Unfortunately, this is going to be far too small for anyone to read. However, we are about here. So, it's a big old document.
Yeah.
Essentially, progress is going incredibly well. We have dug and installed the rainwater attenuation tank that has been backfilled. So unfortunately, our lovely hole for a swimming pool out the front has been filled in, just in time for the rain to come back. The works to the roof have begun, so the scaffolding is now around the building, and you can see the roof has been stripped and has been protected from the elements while they work through any repairs or replacements that need to happen to the roof before the tiles go back on. The hole for the extension at the back has been dug, ready for the foundations to be started for the extension at the back of St Dunstan's house. That's not the link building, that's the extension at the back. And the contractors this week are going to start taking down the lean-to, which is just here on the side of the main hall, which is in the area that the atrium will be in. And there's various works inside the building that are continuing. I've made a couple of posts on Facebook with some pictures of progress to keep the public up to date. And the St Dunstan's Implementation Subcommittee looked at a series of interpretation boards that I've designed for the site hoarding. They agreed the content and the look of them. The order has been placed for them. They are just being created, and then they are going to get fixed onto the hoarding that faces out onto Magdalen Street. So that should inform the public of what's going on with the building, but also direct people to the information centre now that it has closed. So work is going very well. We are on time, if not slightly ahead of time. Touch wood, it continues. But that's just an update for you, Your Worship. I'm I've asked the MP to chase Angela Rayner, who's the new minister responsible for the old Levelling Up money, because the Community Ownership Fund is a fund that we are awaiting a decision for. It was not cut in the budget. We haven't had a decision. The Town Council needs to know as soon as possible if that's hopefully a yes. And if it's a no, as I say, we need to know as soon as possible, because we need to consider where the shortfall in the project is coming from. There are on this programme, there are a couple of items that have a very long lead time. So we've actually noted, it's not refreshing on that page, but the latest order date for the roof glazing and solar, the panels that are integrated within them, and that's the glulam beams, which are the main structural part of the atrium. They've got a very long lead time. Well, what's the other one? Oh, no, there's only two of them. That's the two items with a long lead time. So we've noted the latest order date. So they will obviously be ordered with enough time for them to actually get on site. But you might wish to ask your worship, Councillor White, to give an update, because he's fortunate enough to be able to attend the progress meetings. This isn't the copy of the programme that was at the progress meeting. That had a very handy wiggly red line showing us where we were, but I don't know where I've saved that one immediately. But Councillor White might wish to give an additional update, your worship, on progress on the project.
So, we had, as you probably heard, the site manager left, so the sort of construction guy, and then we had Darren, is it?
Daryl, managing director, is our site manager for 2 weeks.
And then they're getting a new one, and so by the end of the month, if they haven't found a new one, there's a guy finishing a job who will come on to it. I also met the groundworks manager, so they were the people digging the big hole, putting the attenuation tank in, all very, very well organised. But this design meeting and this thing was actually up to date for the day of that last design meeting, and you just go like, wow, you know. So they were really on the case with it. We think probably it'll be about a year. They think a bit less, but either way, it's fine. Matt and Gemma, very, very good, and yeah.
Councillor Cottle?
Yeah, I've got one question which I'll bring up because I know that a couple of other councillors have showed interest online. And it's, can you explain to the council what the rainwater tank does? Whatever, I can't even pronounce it. I do know that a couple of other councillors have shown an interest online.
Okay, the attenuation tank that was down there, I think it's something to do with the slope of the Abbey, bringing the water down here. It would be too much to go down there. And so they put this thing in, the water goes in and it drains away slightly. But here's our town clerk with the full spec.
Very simply what happens, Councillor Cottle, it intercepts the drainage from the roofs and surface drainage before it gets to the sewer. And what it does is, rather than, if it buckets down with rain, rather than all the rain from the drains and the roofs going in the sewer immediately, it's a great big tank that fills up and then it discharges at, I think we're only allowed 2 litres a minute. So rather than all that water going barrelling into the sewer immediately, and that's what results in let off, that attenuation tank holds, that's just a fancy word for holding, holds the water and discharges it more slowly so that the sewer system can cope with it.
Just trickles from it.
Thank you very much for that explanation. I hope the other councillors now understand as well.
You were the lady that was writing about it.
Yeah, you were.
Thank you.
Anyway, hopefully they're listening to tonight's meeting and they'll be fully informed. So I think it's basically good news. Councillor Cook?
Yeah, that's fantastic to see that. Absolutely fantastic. And that's all your work, is it?
Sorry?
No, it's all your work, is it?
No, that's not my work. That's the work of our contractors, Mel Hewish and Saunders. So
even better.
We had a progress meeting. I'll just let this one go. There was actually an even more interesting copy of this. As I said, it had a slightly wiggly red line where we were ahead of programme on some things and behind on others. And that was up to date as of the afternoon of the progress meeting, which we have. I think they're going to be monthly. We've got our next one is next Thursday, and they give us an update where we are on the programme. And that red line showed us on each of those 99 items, although some of them are blank lines, so it's probably actually more like 96, 97 different aspects of the project where we were on all of them, whether we were ahead, behind, or whether we weren't even anticipating to be doing something yet, so it just ignores it. But they gave a really comprehensive update. There was an A4 sheet of paper that had all the items in the programme that we were expecting to have done work on, the percentage of work that was expected, the percentage of work completed, and the reason why it was above, below, or on target. And actually their comprehensive update at that programme meeting, Councillor White, it was very good. We were very pleased.
Yeah, if you were around yesterday or the day before, the moment they'd finished backfilling out the front of that, where the balcony is, the walkway, they then started putting the scaffolding up for the rest of the roof. You just heard like, wow.
So it's basically very good news. We're waiting to hear for the finances, but we just have to wait a bit longer and see. Happy to move on? So next item, I think it's Connor again, is consider asset and service devolution as a priority for the Town Council.
This is quite a simple one. What we, as officers, we're asking the Town Council to consider is making a decision that asset and service devolution is a piece of work that is to be focused upon over the coming months in order that it's done correctly. So essentially what it would enable us to do is not change any decisions of committees, but say where a committee was wanting a certain piece of work done, and actually there wasn't capacity right now to be doing it because we needed to focus on getting the details of asset and service devolution right, it would essentially allow us to say, we can't do that right now, we have to focus on this because it's a full council decision. Now, at the moment, there's not an awful lot for us to actually be considering. I was hoping by this meeting we might have a bit more meat on the bone in terms of what we might be taking on. This wouldn't be a reason for anyone to go, oh, I don't fancy doing that, I'm just going to pull this card and say we're focusing on this. But if Somerset Council have brought forward their key decision date from October to September, they've taken a paper to their asset management group that they haven't even shown us, we might have to meet, make some decisions and, you know, talk back and forth about what they want us to take and what we're happy to take and what we're not happy to take quite quickly. And that could take quite a lot of capacity between myself, Katie, the Assistant Town Clerk, will be helping me, and I'm also going to have the assistance of our Projects and Events Officer, Scarlett, and as well as our outside contracted help in the form of a former Assistant Chief Executive of Mendip District Council. It might well just be that there are capacity issues as this piece of work is delivered, and that would just allow us to put a pause on some things and have a reason to state why that has happened. Now, Wells City Council have done the same thing. This is actually a suggestion from our consultant who works for Wells of a decision for full council to make. So it's for members to consider. It's essentially the object of it, the reason for it, is to ensure that we get asset and service devolution done correctly, and we do it before a point where Somerset maybe have those decisions taken out of their hands, which we hope don't happen. But we need to be able to work quickly and you know, effectively. It might well mean that other things have to get put on a slight hold, but I'm hoping they won't. It just gives us that backup, Your Worship.
Councillor Smythe.
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, I think it just makes complete and utter sense that town hall staff, led by Connor, should prioritise anything that comes our way from the devolution of assets and services. It's a very wise recommendation, and I'd like to propose that we take that up.
Yeah, I'll second that, okay.
Are we happy to move straight to vote on that? All those in favour? All those against? All those abstaining? One abstention. Okay, so thank you. Yep.
So it's related in that what is happening with the toilets at St John's car park? I know it's related to the... Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So we have been talking with other contractors to come and take on that cleaning. I've actually signed a bit of paper to say that we're happy for a company to start and come and do it. They've just gone, silent on us. So Katie, assistant town clerk, has been chasing them and is going to chase them again this week. It's not a problem just here in Glastonbury, and actually at our meeting today with the other clerks of the former Mendip area, there are quite a lot of concerns over the state that the toilets have been handed to us in. They haven't been maintained for a number of years, and actually we had to have some drainage work done at St John's. I said to Somerset Council, either you can send out a drainage person to come, because all the drains were blocked, or I'll do it, but you have to pay the invoice, because it's not our building, we don't have a lease, and actually the building and the toilets are in quite a bad state. So if we're going to be looking at signing a lease with a view to having the freehold, quite a lot of work needs to be done to those toilets to bring them actually up to a suitable standard, because they're not really a suitable standard at the moment. But that's an ongoing discussion amongst all of us. But the update, in short, Councillor Dougal, is we have got another company lined up. I just need to come and get them to have a look and then start as soon as possible. They're based out of Yeovil?
Yeovil, you said.
So they already do the toilets, Ilminster, Ilchester, one of those? Ilminster. So they already do, and they also do Castle Carey and Castle Carey. So they already do a round of public toilets, and they're happy to add us to their round. I just need to get them to come and actually start. And if that's a non-starter and they're then not interested, we will find someone else. But it's still that battle, getting a contractor to come and actually do it.
Tragedy that it's in mid-tourist season.
It is, it couldn't be
The high street shops and cafes.
Yep. No, I fully sympathise, and we are trying to get them open as soon as possible, because the fewer complaints we get, the happier we all are as well, and the public actually being able to use them. So we are trying. It's the difficulty of getting a contractor to come and do it, but we're working very hard, and I'm sure Katie will chase them again later this week after this meeting.
Thank you. A quick question. Is it just for St John's toilets that we're looking for a contractor, or is it for other toilets as well? Is it just that block?
Just St John's.
Is there any reason why we have to get a contractor? Could we not get a local firm or a local cleaner? Is that really daft?
It's not daft, Councillor Don Francesco. It's incredibly difficult to find someone who wants to clean public toilets. Yeah. If any of you have a contact, someone who's interested, we are more than happy to contact them. Everyone we've contacted has either said no, not replied, or now that I've signed something to say yes, we're happy to. I think it was a 3-year contract I was going to sign, so they were going to have money for 3 years to do it, while I thought we'd get the freehold and sort what we're going to do out. And they've just, I'm kind of hoping it's either annual leave, holiday, or someone's, I don't hope someone's unwell, but I hope the reason they've gone silent is that, someone's not there to be answering us. But we're going to keep chasing. But I'll be honest, if there is a competent person or company based anywhere, worldwide, hear my cry via the stream. Someone's interested in having a contract to come and clean the toilets in St John's, Glastonbury, Somerset. Please get in touch with me.
Okay.
I'm trying. We are both trying.
Out there. Perfect.
Thank you. Happy to move on. So the next item is the Royal Life Museum, also known as the South West Heritage Trust, funding, who've asked us for a substantial grant because Somerset have cut their grant. Do you want to talk to us, Connor, or shall I?
If you would like to, Your Worship, to give people another voice to listen to, I've got an email on the screen, but I'll tell you what, I'll let you talk about it first before I project that.
So the Royal Life Museum is managed by Somerset South West Heritage Trust. They've been in the habit of being funded by Somerset Council, who's cut their grant completely. They've come to us asking for a £44,000 grant, I believe, to make up their shortfall. That's way more than we could possibly give. That was over 2 years, way more than we could possibly give. We would like to offer them something, and we're asking the council to agree what it is. Our proposal is we give them £5,000, which is a large grant for us, a lot less than they want. But we're also suggesting that we tie it to a substantial benefit for the local community, so that the local community gets something tangible out of it. We've got another proposal, which is in a month or so, we're going to be launching a big survey of our local community called a community review, And we're hoping 1,000 people in our community will fill in an online questionnaire, basically about what kind of town do you want to live in. So we're designing a survey, it's going to go out there. We're hoping 1,000 people will reply. One proposal is we offer up to 1,000 people, more or less, not quite, but over half free entry to the Somerset Rural Life Museum, which is in fact a year's ticket. So the Somerset Rural Life Museum will get a lot of the £5,000. They get a lot more people going there, probably spending money when they get there, and we would get all these carrots to dangle for our community survey. So that's the proposal. We give them £5,000, but tie it to a lot of heavily subsidised tickets for the Rural Life Museum. Councillor Cottle and then...
I was first, Mike, yeah. I have a query about this, and it just struck me. The money from their car park, because it is a pay car park, does that go straight to Somerset, or do they have it, or does the trust have it? Do we know?
It's the trust's car park.
So we ought to be also encouraging them, people to use that car park who go to the tour, and because they tend to miss it, I think, and they don't realise it's there. So I think that's something that we should be working on to get people in there to raise more money for them that way as well.
Councillor Napper?
Thank you, Worship. We're proposing to give them 25% of what they require.
In street?
Sorry?
Sorry, go on.
Does that mean that they will survive, or does that mean that they won't survive? It's only 25%, and there's a 75% shortfall.
So they've asked for a sum of £41,000 from Glastonbury Town Council.
Over 2 years?
Yeah, well, the trust's financial year is November to the end of October. So that is almost a 6-month difference to our financial year. So it would be 1 financial year for the trust, 2 financial years for the Town Council if you made the full grant. So they have asked for that grant. In the discussions at the working group, I've been to a number of them, I've had with them, we have stressed generating more income. The proposal that came to the last meeting was as a result of probably 2 or 3 meetings with the trust, encouraging them to think about how they can make money. They have taken that on board, but there's still a bit of a lackadaisical attitude about how quickly they think they could bring some of that income sort of online. We asked for the amount of reserves that the trust hold. Now, so they reckon there's a £41,000 deficit in the budget for the Rural Life Museum, and in their conversations with us, they have stressed that they reckon they could bridge that gap with income in the future, and they wouldn't be asking us for a grant in the future. Now, the trust hold reserves of about £520,000, which is a lot more than the Town Council holds. My professional point of view would have been, if they are convinced that that deficit is for 1 year only, that's exactly what their own reserves are for. So I won't go into my personal opinion about the grant to the Rural Life Museum, but we've stressed how they could generate more income. They have taken that on board theoretically, and I've offered, with the discussions around the car park, I said I've already looked into everything to do with the car park. I will pass on all of that and have discussions with them about how they can make more money out of their car park. They can do things that we at the moment legally can't, so they could actually quite easily start making more money out of that car park. They've taken that on board. They have significant reserves, and I won't go into any more about the working group, because members of the working group might want to feed in more, but there has been an update from Sam, who's the chief executive at the trust, about what we've proposed. It's slightly different from what councillors were hoping for, but what I'll do, your worship, is allow you to take any more questions, and then I'll project Sam's reply, and you can consider what's come back from the trust.
So I've got Councillor Smythe.
I just think that possibly with those reserves, and that they can afford to accept that our proposal, and they won't be going under, if you wish. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Worship. I'll be very happy to hear Sam's reply.
Sure.
before I hear that, I've been on the working group with Paul and Michael and Connor and yourself, and heard extensively the details of their accounts, of their history, and it seems to me that they're kind of their management plan is based on the 100,000 subsidy they were getting annually from Somerset County Council, and they haven't really produced a really adventurous management plan projecting into the future, in my opinion. I think £5,000 would be more than generous, if not a bit over generous from this council. And of course, there is the question, where does it come from? And as we've heard, our backs are against the wall. We don't know what's coming from us from the Somerset assets and devolution. We won't know until September, possibly October. The reason why they're pushing for an answer is because, as Connor says, their financial year ends in November, begins in November. Now, really, if we wanted to support them in any way, we should ask we could consult with our residents, and the amount of £5 on the precept for next year would probably generate about £20,000, for example. But before we know what's coming our way from Somerset, the devolution of assets and services, I'm very reluctant to promise any grant in this financial year.
Councillor Osborne?
I tend to agree with Councillor Smythe. I didn't realise they had huge reserves. I mean, I really, really like the Rural Life Museum. I think it would be an absolute tragedy if it didn't exist. But I also feel that tapping us up for 40 grand when they've got huge reserves is frankly a bit cheeky. I understand that money has been taken from them probably quite suddenly and they didn't expect it. But, does our precept payer really want to prop them up? And how long will that be going on for? Because it's a bucket with a hole in it.
We should have said that the reserves are not just for the Rural Life Museum, it's the South West Heritage Trust, which runs 6 museums. So it's a more substantial operation who have to look after the whole lot.
Yeah, I'm going to sort of disagree with Mike and Lily on this one, because if we give them 5,000, which is what we were thinking about there, instead of that, I think that's fine. Because I personally, because they get school trips, they get all the things like that in there, and lots of locals use the place, and I think that we would be supporting local people and possibly long-standing Glastonbury residents who would like to see that remain and they would like their money to be spent in that direction. That would be my personal opinion, and it's not, as some of them will say, woo-woo stuff. It's solid, and I think we should support it as best we can.
How about hearing Sam's reply now and then taking your thoughts?
I just want to make a very brief thing, is I actually support the £5,000 because I think it's very fair, as long as it's got some benefit for our community. But I will need to abstain from the vote because I'm working with South West Heritage Trust on a Town Deal Fund project. So as I'm conflicted, so I will have to abstain from voting.
Okay. So Indra would have to abstain as well. Okay.
Just a right to reply from what Nick's just said.
Yeah.
I think you misunderstood me, because I do fully support what they're doing, and I think it's a great asset for visitors and locals alike. I'm just querying whether we should give £5,000 out of this financial year before we know what's coming our way.
Could we hear Sam's reply, then move on?
Ian.
Thank you. Sorry, Ian.
I think.
Are the other 5 museums, or whatever they are, in the trust, are they all in a similar position? Do they all need topping up?
So the trust run 3 museums, and then they have their archive, which is down in Norton Fitzwarren, which I think, oh great, I'll go down on a trip to Taunton, then it's the other side of Taunton. But The Somerset Museum in Taunton has been supported by Taunton Town Council, and the brick and tile museum in Bridgewater has been supported by Bridgewater Town Council. Now they're orders of magnitude bigger than us in terms of their size as a town council, but that's the other two museums. They've been supported by those towns. They haven't asked anyone else for support for the Rural Life Museum other than Glastonbury Town Council at the moment.
Sam's reply?
Oh yeah, sorry, so I'm projecting it. So essentially the proposal went back to Sam at the Somerset, the South West Heritage Trust. What we would like to do, purchase £5,000 worth of tickets to be able to distribute to people who complete, or a proportion of people who complete the community review survey. So that would allow the trust to have what's essentially a grant, but for our residents to get something, or some of our residents to get something back. So what the chief executive come back and said that they would be willing to offer 250 what they're calling golden apple tickets. Each ticket will provide a one-off admission to the museum. Now, a normal admission is a year's admission.
Yeah.
So they're offering here just a one-off for visitors and their family. And they've said that they hope that that will inspire future take-up, etc., etc. They've provided a design of the ticket, which I guess if we buy them and support the trust, we'd want the town council logo on it. That was in the fold, which I can project in a moment. But that's essentially what has come back, is one-off admission tickets rather than a year's admission, which is what you would get if you wandered into reception and purchased a ticket. I think the reason that the working group were proposing that way around is if you had multiple visits by families, if they were offered a year's admission, they would spend money while they were there, they'd spend money in the cafe, and you'd get, you know, several bites of the cherry. I guess this proposal is what the trust are more happy with, where they're offering people one bite of the cherry and hoping that people will then buy a ticket. But as I say, this is what's come back from the chief executive, so I welcome thoughts from both the working group and full council in general.
Can I say something? So I find it slightly odd because a normal full price ticket for a year's membership and unlimited access is £10. So we could so that's what you get for £10. But they're suggesting 250 one-off tickets for £20 each. So it's we might as well just go buying memberships without £5,000.
Yeah, if I may, Your Worship, I think it's £10 for an individual. What they're offering is that would essentially be a family ticket. It would be given to an individual, but it'd be for a family. And I did look at the admission prices today because that was a query I had. A family admission is £22 for 2 adults and 2 children.
Anyway. Michael.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been on 5 of those working group meetings, I think. The last one was very good, and we weren't asking for so many tickets, so we said, 300, I think, and then thought, well, if we're giving them 5,000, we might as well ask for 500 to be given out as part of that community review, just as like a sort of prize. But our thinking behind it was that if we gave someone a ticket, they would likely take somebody else and buy a ticket. So that way there would be money coming into the Rural Life Museum. So we were trying to get them to sort of maximise a bit and do something, rather than say, we've always existed on grants. And say, well, that isn't really practical, and we're only a small town as well. So this seems to sort of be a bit between. I still like the idea where people would get a ticket, which was then an annual ticket, and they would go more often, shop, cafe, and things like that.
What I'm wondering is, could we agree a certain figure for a grant to spend a certain amount of money, and leave the details of the deal, if you like, to the working group to negotiate with the Rural Life Museum? Could we agree £5,000 and allow us to negotiate what the community gets for its money?
Are we able to delegate to the working group to do that?
So legally, you would delegate it to me as the proper officer in conjunction with the working group. So what I would do would be what the working group wanted, but no, you can't legally delegate to a working group, but you can delegate that to to me in conjunction with the working group.
Okay, that works.
But we'd agreed the amount of money.
Yeah.
Councillor Manning?
Just to clarify that, if we can't reach an acceptable solution with the Heritage Trust, will we still be committed to giving them 5,000?
Yeah. Yes. It sounds like we're quite close to the deal. Councillor Smythe?
I understood that we're voting tonight on whether to give the grant. Is that correct?
Yes.
And if we were to give any grant, where would the funding come from?
That would come from Councillor Smythe, the asset and service devolution budget line. So that's where the money that hasn't been spent yet but is committed for CCTV, subject to a suitable service level agreement, which I haven't arrived at a suitable service level agreement, so I haven't signed it, and we haven't paid for CCTV, but we've agreed up to an amount to contribute to CCTV. That's the budget line that the cost of St John's toilets. When I do get a contractor to come and actually clean them and open them and maintain them, etc., where that's coming from, but that's also the budget line that all other costs in relation to asset and service devolution, unless we squeeze it from somewhere else, would also be coming from. And as you mentioned, that is still, unfortunately, a bit of a moving feast.
I understand that, thank you. I also understand that those two items you mentioned amount to about £40,000 or £42,000 out of £160,000, which could rise to £180,000.
Probably closer to about 35, but yes, it's in that region.
Yeah. Any kind of estimate on what's coming our way? A ballpark figure?
I've had some quite animated moments in the office from and Nick has had some quite exasperated phone calls from me in regard to the lack of information I'm being given from Somerset Council. It was suggested by an officer at Somerset Council, if you want to get an idea of costs, why don't you go get an external contractor to give you a quote for stuff like grass cutting? And I said, no, you hold the contract with ID Verdi, you tell me how much you spend. I don't want pounds and pence, you can tell me to the nearest thousand. So they're going away and doing that. In terms of what they're looking to devolve, play parks, open spaces, cost of bin emptying is a new one that's come along. They said, Glastonbury has 99 bins, can you go and find where they are for us? So I said, no, you tell me where they are. So we have absolutely no idea at the moment. It could be as much as the town council is willing to spend, or as little as it's willing to spend, but it could amount to easily more than we've got in the budget.
I'll just add to that, the recent agreement to provide speed camera signs on Coursing Batch and Street has a caveat that we maintain the cutting away the vegetation.
Yeah.
So that implies that we might be asked to do that throughout the parish. So that would be another expense, for example.
Councillor Manning?
Yes, going back to the start of the discussions regarding the devolution, they were taking place at the end of last calendar year. And I think the vision at the time was that we'd be looking at sort of early April, May, starting to take these things on. The way things are going, half the year will have gone before things start coming across. So hopefully there should be some money in the pot, which we haven't had to spend. So, I think there is possibly some money there.
Are we ready to move to a vote on this?
What are we actually voting on? Sorry.
So my proposal would be we vote £5,000 as a grant for the Rural Life Museum to come from asset and service devolution on the grounds that it's a cut being made by Somerset, which we are stepping forward to replace. And we're delegating the deal negotiated, the benefit to the community, if you like, to the working group.
To the town clerk.
To the town clerk in conjunction with the working group. Thank you. I'd like to propose that if anyone wants to second it.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Nick.
Could I just check, Your Worship? So I've noted that down. I'm quite comfortable with the proposal. Could I just check the wording that grant is subject to a suitable act from the Rural Life Museum? So what Councillor Manning raised, it's not a grant
It's subject to the
It's
deal.
subject to, so if the working group aren't happy with what comes back, the
Which
grant
grants
won't
eliminate.
necessarily be made.
Sure.
That's fine.
Okay. Ready to move to vote?
Just clarification, would that caveat come back to full council, or are we leaving it with the working group?
That'll be delegated to the working group.
Delegating it to me in conjunction with the working group. So if the working group are happy, then it can go ahead.
Ready to move to vote? All those in favour?
Question.
Harry?
This is a one-off, isn't it?
This is a one-off, yes. Yes,
And it's not
Yes.
continuing.
one-off. So all those in favour? All those against? All those abstaining? There's a few, 5 abstentions, but the motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruffin.
I'll organise with Katie either an in-person or an online meeting of the working group to discuss what we go back with.
So can we move on to resolutions noting resolutions of delegated committees? I'll give you that, Connor.
Yeah, so these are just for noting, Your Worship. I hope that screen refreshes in a second. There is one recommendation on the list highlighted in blue, which we will get to. So all these grants have been awarded.
Yep.
Payments have been made.
Very good.
Where is that?
Bernie Douglas.
Sorry, Douglas is a completely different tribe.
She's a Roni Dougal.
Was have been.
Where is that? Sorry, I can't see it.
Under
Number
I.
one.
Number one,
Number 1, line 4.
PI.
Oh yeah, I didn't write these. I'll feed that back and they'll get changed.
Roni Dougal, okay.
Not mine either. Sorry, Kate. Everybody gets Roni Dougal wrong. I've been given all sorts of names in my time.
I know exactly how you feel with people spelling Ogilvy incorrectly.
You should try being called Lokabandu.
Yeah.
What's his other name? Lokabandu.
Exactly.
Moving on.
They named them twice.
Well, they've got it right there.
It was someone else who wrote those ones. That was actually Katie who wrote these ones for property and assets. So we've gone over the spelling many times. There's your recommendation, Your Worship.
Okay. So we need to vote on this in full council, yeah?
Yes, please, Your Worship. So it's been recommended, I'll tell you what, make it easier for people to read and move it down the screen. From the A361 committee by Councillor Smythe, that full council, so Glastonbury Town Council, lobby the MP, Sarah Dyke MP, to de-designate the A361 as a national freight route from Beardsley Batch in a westerly direction, seconded by Councillor McDougall and resolved unanimously. So it's up to full council whether you accept or refuse that recommendation, and that screen should refresh in a second.
So do you need to re-propose it and re-second it here?
Someone needs to propose that it's accepted, second that it's accepted or refused, and then take a vote, please, Your Worship.
Okay, so moving to vote.
Just ask where Beardsley Batch is.
Where is Beardsley
It's
Batch?
on the A37, where the A37 joins the A361, just outside of Pilton.
Oh, yeah.
It will mean that the heavier vehicles will travel down A37 towards the 303. And this would alleviate the pinch point at both Pilton and underneath the Tor, which is progressively more and more dangerous to pedestrians, to our tourist industry, and God forbid we don't want any fatalities there.
There are alternatives.
So can we move to vote on that? It's been proposed and seconded by Mike and Indra, was it?
Or anyone.
Serena, Mike and Serena.
Oh, okay.
Moving to vote, all those in favour of lobbying the MP? All those against?
I've gone with Indra, okay?
This is, again, all those In favour? Sorry. All those against? So 4 against. All those abstaining? No abstentions.
Can I just ask on a practical point, how does full council see this lobbying happening? Would it like me to write a letter? Or I think Councillor Ronnie Dougal has her hand up, Your Worship.
Yes, so already, as part of the A361 committee, I've made a summary of where we've got to, including I'm looking at the various regulations, the government regulations regarding national favourites. I will bring this summary together to the A361 committee, and from that, the letter can be composed.
Brilliant.
The A361 committee.
Excellent.
If I may speak, absolutely correct, Serena, and even better, we'll construct the letter, we'll arrange a meeting with Sarah Dyke and hand it over to her officially and have a chat about it, because she wants to meet us.
We've got the A361 meeting coming up,
We have.
and I've already sent a summary out, and I'm working on it, and I will send it out again. And while I'm up here, our previous thing, it says that the purchase of the forward speed camera signs, which we agreed, and I just want to check that the full council are happy that we spend this money for these signs.
Delegated committee, we already have spent it. 600.
The order's been placed for those signs. That's with the local traffic engineer, a nice lady called Aileen Fletcher, and they will get installed when they've got their highways contractors next out and about to install those signs.
Great, thank you.
Serena, it would appear as if there are 3 ways of spelling your name. 1 L, 2 L's, and what was the other one?
Douglas.
No, Councillor Dougal is different from Serena Ronnie Dougal. Ronnie Dougal only has the 1 L. Councillor Dougal has 2 L's.
Thank you.
They're sons and daughters of the Dougals. The Dougals only do 1 L.
Anyway, moving on.
Do they hurt?
This is Scottish clan stuff. We're very clannish.
That's it, Your Worship.
So that's the end of the noting the resolutions of the delegated committees. Can we move on to the advisory committees, where there's a few decisions to take, I believe. So the A361 advisory committee.
Oh, that shouldn't be there. That's a mistake.
No.
They're not an advisory committee. They are a... It's because they were recommendations. It must have confused Sarah, who wrote the report, and I didn't notice they were there.
So the Frost Fair Advisory Committee has a request for £100 to be given to GFM.
This
Is that £300?
This, Your Worship, is in relation to the amount of money that is paid to organisations who host stages at Frost Fair. I believe it is currently £300, and it's been £300 for a very long time. And the Frost Fair Advisory Committee, out of their own funds, really, in my opinion, we should consider making them a delegated committee because they have their own funds, wish to increase the amount for certain stages to £400 to make it easier for those organisations who are organising those stages and have to pay, I presume, expenses, etc., to be able to have quality acts on the day for Frost Fair. So the recommendation is that for those 3 different stages, there is an increase of £100 to the payment for holding those stages.
Councillor Don Francesco?
Thank you. This comes out of their own budget?
Yes.
But they have to go through us because they're not a...
It's an advisory committee, so they can only recommend how they spend their money.
Great.
I might consider bringing it to a future full council meeting to change it to a delegated committee. They can just get on with organising the Frost Fair because it's too big of a beast and there's too many considerations around stall prices and spending of money, and they make a surplus each year. Doesn't make much sense that they're constantly coming back to us to spend an extra 300 quid. So that will come to a future meeting.
So who's proposing the increase? Do you want to propose it?
I can propose it. Yes, Councillor Price isn't here, so...
I'm happy to second it. Move to vote?
Yeah.
Who's all those in favour of the increase in the stages money? All those against? All those abstaining? We've got 1 against and 2 abstentions.
Thank you. That's carried by majority, Your Worship.
Thank you.
So that recommendation doesn't need a full council decision because that's just how D1.
Oh, yeah.
That's just how often the Climate Emergency Advisory Committee wish to meet. So that's your only recommendation that you need to make a decision on, but you might wish for an update to come from various members.
Serena, sorry.
Yes, so I'd like to update you on the cups. Do you remember we were going to be doing the reusable takeaway cups? These have now been ordered. The logo that we agreed is on them. And this is a leaflet that is going to be going out with the places that are going to be doing the cups. And I've got a couple here for people to look at, one for each side. And they've been done, these leaflets have been done by Jaya Rain. Basically, it says, as it will come to, it says, time to ditch single-use cups. We are encouraging the use of reusable cups instead of single-use cups from the 1st of August. In the UK, we use over 8 million throwaway cups every day. Only 1 in 400 over recycled. Compostable cups are also a problem. This adds to our growing waste mountain. Help us reduce waste. The cups are going to be sold for £2 each. And if people take a reusable cup back to Earth Fair and 100 Monkeys, they'll get 50p off their cup of coffee. So it's really to try to encourage people to reuse cups rather than having disposable cups. I'm showing you this leaflet which will be going out at the moment in Earth Fair and 100 Monkeys. The GIC have said that they are interested, and this was Margaret who suggested that the GIC have it. I've given them a sample of the cups, and I'm waiting for the phone call back for them to say how many they'd like to order, so they will have one of these leaflets as well. And Burns of Bread have said they're interested, and it's up to me actually to phone Terry. I haven't yet done it, but I need to do that on my to-do list. And then they will have one of these leaflets. So the leaflets will only be places that are actually selling the cups. It won't be for anywhere else. It will be a poster to go with the cups. And so yes, any questions, any comments, anything about them. The colour, by the way, is wrong. It's just my printer is crap, and I'll get them properly done with proper colour. This was just, I only got it this afternoon.
So I've got Councillor Smythe and Councillor Cook. Oh, and Connor. So 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Serena. I noticed you've got May Glastonbury Thrive as opposed to May Glastonbury Flourish. Is that a... May Glastonbury Flourish?
Yeah, yes, I hadn't even noticed.
Could we have our town motto?
Would you like May Glastonbury Flourish?
Yeah.
I will ask them to change it.
That'd be great. The other thing I noticed, it does resemble the Glastonbury Way, which is a great advert for our popular walk.
And it's what was agreed by the town council when we brought the logo to the town council.
Exactly. Yeah. So I wondered whether Walk the Talk could be included in any of the...
I will ask. Change Thrive to Flourish, Walk the Talk. Yeah. She was trying to reduce the number of words because Laura put in lots of words and Jaya was trying to bring the word number down. But yes, I'll ask her.
Councillor Cook.
It's just a silly little. It's not picky. It's not meant to be a picky question, but how many uses are you expecting to get out of one cup?
1,000. The cups are meant to be reusable, washable 1,000 times.
Yeah, so how do you wash?
Wash them.
No, I'm talking about people you know.
Okay. So let's say you bought one at Earth Fair with a cup of coffee, and then before going home you want, well, we've got a fountain here in the Market Cross and outside Dunstan's house where you can get free water to wash.
Yeah. Hot drinks here, aren't we?
Yes.
Just water.
Come wash them with the water.
It's a hot cup of coffee.
Okay, don't
Yeah,
worry.
I'm just asking how many cups do you expect?
1,000.
1,000.
It can be you get 1,000 drinks out of that cup.
All right, fair enough. It's 1,000.
So I've got Connor and then Councillor McDougall.
Thank you. My only question, Councillor Ronnie Dougal, how many have been ordered in the first run?
Okay, so Earthfare put in the order and there are 400 of each size.
Right, and there's two sizes, aren't there?
There's the two sizes.
Yeah.
800.
Great. I was just curious how many were actually ordered.
Yes, so it was 800 of, so 400 of each size.
Brilliant.
So, Lindsay?
I've noticed that the fountains don't work on a couple of occasions I've tried to use them more recently.
So the problem with St Dunstan's is that the water has been cut off because of the construction project, and the problem with the one on the Market Cross is the electrics keep tripping. So we've got an electrician coming out in the next couple of weeks to take a look, because we also need to get it sorted for the Christmas tree. So it's water at that one, electrics at that one.
Okay, so that will work.
Yes.
It's a problem, that one. It was a problem last year as well, wasn't it?
It still is a problem.
We need to blame Alderman Ian Tucker. It's his machine.
That's one more.
So, order.
Can we use the water from the tank?
Order.
Which tank?
The attenuation.
No, you can't use that.
So, Paul?
2 litres per minute.
Just says a typo in the bottom line.
Oh.
It says supporter.
I know she's changed it. It's okay. I noticed that typo. I was printing them out at the time and I mentioned it and she has changed it, but it was too late for me to get it for here. But we've got other changes that have been suggested. So this is for you to look at now and say, hey, nice idea. Thank you very much. And I would really like to ask this town council to thank Jaya Rain, because she was the one who did the logo and she's now the one who's done the leaflet, and she's done it purely on a voluntary basis out of the kindness of her heart. And she's one of our daughters, one of our children who've grown up in the town, and I really am happy that this younger generation are getting involved and starting to volunteer and do things. So I'd love this council to give a thank you to her.
Send her a letter or something.
Can we agree on that? Is that all those, I will suffice? Aye.
Happy to thank her. Happy to thank Jaya Rain for the work she's done.
Oh,
the logo and the leaflet.
So now I've got Indra and then Connor again.
Love it, love the proposal. Thank you for getting it together. Can we maybe in 6 months review where we're at with it, how many are sold, get some feedback, and have a nice, so we know where we are, and then if we need to order more or change anything.
Earthfare will be doing the ordering. They're the ones who ordered. So we gave them a grant to help with the first order. And because they got the logo slightly wrong, actually the next order they're going to get a reduced rate. So hopefully the second order will again be slightly cheaper for them, which will mean that hopefully it will expand beyond the 4 and to more places in town.
Connor?
If this is a silly suggestion or idea, just shoot me down. But for the next order, now that we've, not for this current order, but for the next order, now that we've agreed this Glastonbury logo, could that maybe perhaps go on the next set of cups? Maybe something to be thought about. It's just an idea.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, we did this immediately because the Glastonbury wasn't already agreed.
That's why I'm saying not for this order, but maybe for a future.
It was very like the Glastonbury Way one, so all felt good.
Yeah, absolutely.
We also did
think about.
It would need to be a whole new thing with Earthfare and their suppliers and all the rest of it. But we could maybe think about it for the next one.
Right, that's why I thought we could do a 6 month and then.
So time is moving on. Can we proceed? Next up is unitary councillor reports. I don't think we've got anything in advance, but does Nick want to say anything?
I'll explain. Yeah, we as a group don't have an internal person at the moment, but I can, when I say internal, I mean a person who puts all of our stuff together. But if you would like me to send you stuff from all over the county, I'm more than happy to do so. If you want information about, I don't know, well, anything in the county, I'm more than happy to do that if that's interesting. I did try a practice run with Connor, but he couldn't open the thing, if you remember. you couldn't open it, but I'm working on a way to be able to do it. If you're interested, I'll do it. Yeah?
I'd like to say anything related to Glastonbury in particular, but anything generic to Somerset that...
Well, Glastonbury, obviously, yeah, but you would be interested in other towns as well?
If it's generic to Glastonbury.
Okay. Is that a general consensus?
Yeah, there's no point in anything outside of Glastonbury unless it relates to Glastonbury. Don't really care what goes on.
Okay, no, that's fine, because you can find most of it elsewhere. That's okay. If anybody wants to know anything else, just let me know. Indra? Yep, go on then.
I heard a rumour, 40 redundancies, 40 more redundancies at Somerset. Is that backed up by
We've
anything?
got quite a lot of redundancies going on at the moment.
Right,
So
okay.
I've got a meeting or a thing tomorrow evening or tomorrow afternoon about what's going on. So I can let you know after that. But
Right.
it was a substantial amount of people altogether who are losing their jobs, I'm afraid.
I suppose it's the knock-on because there's so much. I mean, I know we're new councillors, but you know, when we try and reach out for things to happen, things are either not getting to where they need to get to, or they're getting missed. There's a lot of things not happening right now. It just would be nice, I suppose, to get some kind of overview of if there, you know, if there aren't people in those jobs or there's a handover or anything like that. It's really frustrating.
What I will do is we're only on vocal, aren't we? What I'll do, when I get the information tomorrow afternoon, I'll go through it and I'll send to you and Connor what we know, because it's twos and threes, like the thing that we're discussing tomorrow. So I'll let you know well, I won't be able to say who's going, but I'll just give you an idea of where they're going from, which is just, and it's going to carry on. There's no way. Personally, I don't like it, but that's just me, I suppose. I don't believe in rationalisation to that extent, but we have no choice. If there's no money, we can't do it.
They don't like it.
Right, to go back to the other stuff that's been going on, I've had a huge amount of complaints, and I say huge amount of complaints about weeds. Okay, but I believe that's a town council's thing, and if people haven't got anything better to worry about than a few weeds growing out in their pavements, is a bit of a sad state. And yes, Mike, you know what that is.
I'd like to correct you on that. It's not a town council thing, it's a highways thing.
I thought it was a town council. Didn't you take all of the weeding?
I'd like to get clarification from the clerk.
I think that might be a grey area.
So I know in Frome, they do a hoedown, and that's the council that do that. So they've taken it upon themselves. Whether they've taken it off Somerset or not, I don't know. But that is definitely something. And don't we have that machine because we didn't want to use glyphosate? So we've got the hot foamy machine.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, so Councillor Cottle is right. Weeding is a grey area.
Right.
We do have the foam stream. The foam stream is very labour intensive to use. And we do not have the capacity in terms of people to be going out and regularly using it. So that is part of the problem. Quite a lot of the concerns relate to the integrity of the highway, where weeds are between the curb and the edge of the road. Now, the integrity of the highway is the responsibility of the Highways Authority. So that's where highways come into it. We have a very good relationship with the Community Payback Scheme, and I have asked that they consider and go and do weeding
That would be
on the Redlands estate, which is where a lot of these complaints are coming from.
A lot of the complaints are coming from, which is a bit unfortunate.
I drove around and through the Redlands estate, and there are a lot of weeds, but there are places that are worse. But, you know, granted, you want where you live to be nice. In terms of a council or community organised hoedown, now, I hate to be Mr. Rules and Regulations over in the corner, but it's very tricky for the town council to organise something like that, because you need a lot of people with Chapter 8 training. You can't have someone work on the highway if they're not Chapter 8 trained. And I believe that the Chapter 8 training is changing and is being called something else. So Chapter 8, as I speak right now, might be out of date, but that's the idea. So in terms of authorising people to go and work on the highway, that's also very tricky. It boils down to the fact that Town Council doesn't have the capacity to have people going out regularly doing that weeding, and they grow an awful lot quicker than anyone can keep on top of them. Now, if residents would like to go out and do the little bit outside their house, if everyone did that, that would solve a lot of the problems. Unfortunately, there is a bit of a mindset in this country, years gone by, oh, the council will do that. That's the council's responsibility. We're just seen as, you know, there's no distinction between Somerset and Glastonbury Town Council. It's just the council, and the council should do it. We unfortunately don't have we have some of the kit to go and do it. We don't have the people power to go and effectively use that kit as part of the problem, which I hope we can fix in the future. But as I said, we have asked the community payback scheme to go and do more weeding out and about. But yes, it's a grey area. It is one that falls between us and Somerset and highways, and it's very difficult to keep people happy.
So I'll tell you one other thing while I'm thinking about it. I know I put out a thing on my Facebook page and I had over 100 volunteers, but then John, in his wisdom, pointed out to me that they didn't have the training, so they weren't allowed to do it. So it was a bit of a wasted effort on my behalf.
Sorry to go on about
So
this.
I've got a couple of other people who want to speak as well. Go on.
Lynn's your next, I think.
So I've got Councillor Osborne wanted to say something,
Yeah.
and then Lindsay.
But I haven't finished yet either.
Okay, carry on.
That
Carry
was
on.
just a good thing to go, because then I'll come back to you all in turn. But there is a bigger problem in our town, which is surfacing at this moment in time in very, very bad ways. I've had several people, not one or two, several people who have council tax arrears going back for years where it hasn't been fixed, and they're really, really complex, and these people haven't got any money at the moment, and they just can't afford to pay it, even whatever. I've managed to stop the bailiffs going to some, and I've got one in progress right as we speak now to stop the bailiff. But it's not good. People are really, really, really struggling out there, and I think we have to remember that. I think we tend to take it for granted, and we just don't realise. And so I think that's something we should all take on board and remember that there are people in this town who are really struggling. And and then I'll come back to that then, don't worry. And then the other thing we have these parking situations going on. Reg has got them. He's got them in his road. I've got them in Chippewa Street, where I'll give you credit for coming and having a chat with Amanda and a few others. And that's an interesting one to solve as well, because if you cure one parking issue, then you create another one somewhere else. And I know Lilith has her own issues with parking, and I'll wish her well on what she's going to try. Any luck in that? But yeah, so it's been quite a difficult month, to be honest, with people, or an emotional month with people and the situations, because it's not one a week, it's several every day, sort of nearly practically, we've got problems. Ordinary council tax stuff isn't a problem. You just say, okay, you've got to do this and you've got to pay it, you know, at a certain rate. But we'll get the officers to tell them that. But the people who go back 5 years and where they haven't been able to pay for 5 years but haven't sorted it, that's a little bit more difficult and a little bit more complex, and they haven't claimed their single person money and stuff like that. And it takes a bit, it takes a bit of sorting, really. But luckily, the officers are very good at being able to sort it once they get to the bottom of it. And but it is.
So there's a few people who want to ask questions.
Yeah, the questions are now ready.
So Councillor Osborne had a hand up.
Yeah, I was just wondering, all these redundancies, some of them are for people who are very highly paid, at quite a high level, presumably they will be getting redundancy payoffs. And I have heard that the amount of deficit is going to be as big again next year because of all the redundancy payoffs.
Actually, we're running okay this year at this moment in time, and the budget is fine at the moment, and it's not affecting. We've actually come down from the negative to slightly positive at the moment.
Oh.
So if we keep a tight eye on what's going on, we'll be okay.
The other thing I wanted to ask about is you're probably aware that when the Athena company lost the contract for adult social care, a lot of the social workers that they brought in are contract workers. I deal with a lot of people who are based in London, and they just do it on the phone like. No, it's not. It's a bit weird, and they occasionally come up and make a kind of personal appearance. But I just wondered whether there was any chance that we were actually going to recruit local people, or whether we're going to still pay out for agency workers.
I don't like paying agency workers as a personal thing, and I don't believe that our senior officers like that sort of way either, to be honest. But I don't do adult social care anymore. I used to do it, but I don't do it at this time. And but I'll look into it and see what the situation is with the contract. That sort of work, because I know that that's expensive. Whatever you do it in, it is expensive, and it may be that there's a shortage of social workers in the county. I don't know. But I'll look into it and I'll come back to you with an answer on that one.
Okay, I've got Councillor McDougall.
Right, so really this is for the town clerk, I suppose, but about the phone stream. Are we not using it at all?
Very rarely.
Because we used to.
Every day.
But the problem, well, I'll be honest, it's the watering for In Bloom that takes up a lot of the time, and the phone stream machine takes at least 2 people to operate, and between all the other things that are happening, we just do not have the staff resource to go and use it regularly. The guys like...
It's on the agenda.
Yeah, our staff like using it. It's effective when it's used properly. The problem is having the time to go out and actually go and do it regularly.
Every 2 to 3 weeks, remember?
And the other is, we have a council tax support fund, so does that not apply to these people?
To some, yeah. But not to all, because the real problem is it's people putting their head in the sand for a long time and just not doing it. That's the problem. Is that, and it is. I can understand it. If they've got 10 pence in their pocket and somebody wants a pound off of them, they can't pay it. So what do? They hide from it. Yep.
Okay, I've got Connor at a point, I think.
Yeah, one point slightly longer, and I'll make a very brief point on the redundancies.
Okay.
My experience of dealing with council tax and business rates, unfortunately, is not as positive as you have mentioned there, Councillor Cottle. I've had several queries in terms of both council tax and business rates in relation to the different properties that the town council has. I phone the number, I speak to someone who's generally quite helpful on the phone, and I kid you not, it is then months to get a revised bill, which is quite often then wrong. So actually, the speed of dealing with queries on council tax and business rates is incredibly slow. I've got a whole pile in my office, I kid you not, it's about 1 inch thick, of various different bills between business rates and council tax. Some of them I'm querying because they're wrong, and it takes months to receive an updated bill.
Right.
And for them to, I've had to send them the information regarding St Dunstan's House and St Dunstan's Cottage at least twice to get those bills correct. So actually it takes an incredibly long time. You do eventually get to speak to someone on the phone, but then you wait months to receive an updated bit of paperwork in the post, which is then quite often again wrong. So I fear that quite often some of the problems you're having with residents having incorrect council tax bills actually is not helped by the speed, particularly in the former Mendip area, which is still outsourced to Capita, the speed at which those queries can be dealt with. So that's just my point on council tax.
So can I just come back on that one quickly? I can help you on that. If you sort of let me know and stuff, I can go above the manager,
right?
Not on, to another officer, who looks at it quickly, pushes it to the manager and tells them to sort it.
Right.
So
I'll speak to you after this meeting then, Nick. So that's on council tax. And just on the point about redundancies, quite a lot of the redundancy payouts, they're not above any contractual, none of them are above contractual obligations. There was a public report and the highest one was about £500,000, because there is a rule in the local government pension scheme that if you retire early through redundancy, you are not allowed to have an impact on the value of your pension. So essentially where people are between, I think it's over 55 but under pension age, if you're made redundant, it becomes incredibly expensive for the employer to make them redundant. The Somerset Council applied for what's called a capitalisation direction, which is essentially capital money, a loan from the government, and the forecast was that the reduction in the wage bill will pay back the cost of redundancies, I think within 2 years when I read the paperwork. So that was just a point on the redundancies. But yes, the public report on some of what the full council had to agree at Somerset Council, any redundancy package over £100,000, some of them were quite eye-watering, but it's a shame they're having to make so many redundancies, because it is meaning that from 1 week to the next you're dealing with one officer about something and then all of a sudden they've disappeared. So I hope at some point they will balance out and reach some level of being able to offer a decent service to
it's going to take
residents and other councils who try and work with them, but it's a very difficult time for everyone.
I'll give another couple of years, personally, before it levels out and people know what they're doing and everything else. It's an absolute nightmare.
I will pick up with you, Councillor Cottle, about council tax and business
rate. More than happy to look into that for you.
So I've got 2 more points on this, then we should move on.
Okay, who's next?
Indra and then Serena.
So quickly, the people who are having trouble with the council tax, please tell them to go to St John's Church on a Monday morning, and there are people there who have all the patience in the world and computers in front of them and know this and do this daily. Please don't take it all on yourself either.
Right, I can send them there, because I'm taking some to Sydney as well.
Yeah, that's right. It's like a phone in person, not here. No, really, this is
personal appointment for one.
That's lovely. Bloody well done. Please, St John's Church. They are there. They are ready. They are
Monday morning.
Monday mornings.
12, is it?
Yeah, 10 till 12.
Remember that.
They get a cup of tea and everything.
Serena.
Yes, I'm back to the weeds on the tables. If you remember last month, I reported Lake of Mutton Road that on the left-hand side that it's completely covered with brambles and other stuff. And Connor said for me to report it on the Somerset Council website. And I went onto the website and I filled out the form, and it says that somebody will respond within 3 days, and that's a month ago. And you still can't walk up the pavement.
You've got the email back?
The side of Lake of Mutton because of the brambles and all the other stuff that are completely covering the pavement.
Do we know the number of the house?
It's a Hamlin Road house.
Yeah, is that Hamlin Road house? I'm just trying to think. It's right at this.
There's 2 places. One of them it's all brambles, so to literally come right over onto the road. You cannot walk down the pavement. And the other one is trees coming through. And that's from
possibly.
So, but anyway, I did report it onto the Somerset Council website.
You got your email return to say you...
And I've got the number, and nothing has happened. I just wanted to let you know.
No, that's fine. I'll chase that up.
As Connor recommended, I followed the...
I am quite happy to personally go and ask the person to...
the door of Hamlin Road.
Yeah, I'm not adverse to that.
So it's 2 different houses.
Okay, that's great.
One in
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, brilliant. We can move on.
Can we move on to updates from councillors and representatives to outside bodies? So there might be the town deal, for instance. There might be other outside bodies. Thank you very much, Nick.
That's fine.
Thank you. Very little about the town deal, so quite a lot of projects are happening. The Abbey seems to be sort of progressing. St Dunstan's House progressing very quickly. Tor Leisure very quickly. So most of the scaffolding has gone now. They're starting on the brickwork on the playing field side for the ramp going up. Busy inside, but I can't see what they're doing in there. Bailey's has started. So both ends of the old Beckery Road are fenced off now, and their contractors' porter cabins are over there. I went to the farm today on Porchester Drove, spent about an hour. They've got an open day on the 22nd of September. And there's a scarecrow trail and various sort of activities, biochar. So if you want to make a scarecrow, I think you can actually sort of make one and send it in. They have volunteers on Tuesdays and regularly 20. So today there was all sorts. So they were sorting out and painting shipping containers. They've got like wood cladding on the caravans, everything. The base for a yurt is there. They're still looking for money, like most of the other projects are. But they, yeah, I talked to Bon for about an hour today, and she's generally quite content. So I'm sort of pleased with that. And then they've got plans for this winter. Dig a lake, get more of the foresting going in. They've got a nice tree nursery over there. They're doing a mushroom sort of fungi trail, and so yeah, there'll be an apothecary garden and a forest garden. So yeah, pretty good. So generally they're quite content. Yeah, I think that's about it for where we're at the moment.
A couple of questions, Councillor Osborne.
Yes, it's just, I mean, I'm so glad that those ones are going so swimmingly. There are others, though, I understand from the minutes, and you're not doing quite so well. There's things like the Life Factory, which, I mean, I know we've all seen these minutes, but I would like to know, it was agreed that this project is of serious concern and it would be kept under ongoing review. It was noted that additional actions might be needed. Could you tell me what the additional actions that were discussed were? Because these minutes are a little bit light.
I can say a little about it, not a huge amount. Do you want to say anything about it, or shall I just...
Well, no, there's... just to say there is no more from Somerset Council, apart from they are reviewing it. It's going through an audit process, and they will be, we should know by August, September, end of August, September sometime.
Yeah, so Somerset decided to take some action, and they pulled in an auditing team. And so
is that an external auditing team, or there's because I understood that the head of finance is one of the people who've been made redundant.
I don't know.
It's not fine. They have an external but internal to Somerset auditing team. So there's Somerset, but they're not connected to Somerset in any way of their running every day.
They're the ones that will be looking into this.
Exactly.
Yes, they have started already.
151 officers.
Yeah, the 151, that's the one I was thinking of. Yeah, he's been made redundant. And he's the one with the great big package going good.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I've just got a quick question for you, because you never mentioned it.
Yeah.
Tour Leisure, I understand that's coming on in leaps and bounds.
Yeah, I did mention it. I did. You must have known. No, it was going really, really well. So they took the front scaffolding away 2-3 weeks ago. There was still some scaffolding down by the Bowls Club end. All of that's now gone. They're doing the brickwork for like ramps on the playing field side, going across. Sort of drills and socket wrenches going inside, but you can't see what they're actually doing, and that's all the way along. So certainly stuff's happening. They've got different scalping, stuff like that, so they're starting to look at the hard standing as well. The roof is all done as far as I'm aware, and yeah.
No, so we're positive. Thank you.
Any other outside bodies who want to report back? Councillor Manning?
Yeah, I would like to report on Chamber of Commerce, but quickly, although I am declared interest, I am a director of BERT, to say that on the 4th of September, there's an opportunity for local tradespeople to come along to the Bailey's buildings between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. So it's basically after work, and basically we're looking to sign up as many local contractors as we can. So that's happening then. While you've got your diaries open,
those times, Paul.
Yeah, it's
4 to 7.
to 7 p.m. So
4th September.
on the 4th of September.
Yeah, you'll have it online though, Paul, won't you?
That'll be online.
Yeah.
Also, while you've got your diaries, 19th of September is the next chamber meeting, being held in our very own tribunal, and we're hoping to have Sarah Dyke along that evening. That's 6 to 7:30.
19th of September.
On the 19th of September, and on the double check the date, but we've got a jobs fair coming up in Glastonbury, which is being held in the town hall, and that's on the 3rd of October, and that's from 10 to 1:30. So it's a chance for, well, basically for people who are looking for work, meet people there who are looking for employees, but equally if there's any employees that are looking for people, then they're welcome as well.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Last date, Paul, sorry.
3rd of October.
October, and that one is 10 till 1.
10 till 1:30, you said, and in the town hall.
Serena?
Yes, pharmacy, what's happening?
Well, I can't really add much to what I said last time, except that, well, last time I said that it was going to be mid to late August. Realistically, I can't see that happening. There's still quite a bit of work to go on, but I would imagine it's going to be September.
Any other outside bodies want to say something? Terry?
I'd like to report on the Glastonbury Carnival Committee. We had a very successful tractor run on Saturday, and I'm afraid I didn't take part because I'm afraid I think I would have been pulled back by the ear oil. I'm not sure, but I did go down around, and it was a very good day.
Very good day.
Good time was had by all. Oh no!
There you go. That's Terry's very own tractor.
Very nice.
That's not my best side.
Geraldine is like that.
Rick.
Rick?
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, yeah, it was, that came up at the AGM, of course, the tractor run. And they were saying that they're expecting about 230 tractors. Was there more than that?
There's 74 tractors,
70.
I think.
Oh, 70.
Tractors?
Yeah.
74, I think.
74. All right, okay, well, it's not bad for a first time out.
It would have been 75 if I took part.
I enjoyed the music from my allotment.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah, we can hear it too.
I did.
Any other outside bodies wish to report back? Nope. Could we go on to Mayor's announcements? So I've been quite busy as Mayor. I took this picture of Terry. I'm very happy to show it to you tonight. Thank you, Connor. I went to Aladdin at St Dunstan School. Very good pantomime. Strange time of year, but great pantomime. Where I met the new headmaster who's starting in September. I went to the Catholic and Anglican pilgrimages back in July for a Christian weekend. Thank you for Terry and Rosie, my sparers, who accompanied me. I was able to, with Margaret, welcome the Glastonbury, the Southwest in Bloom and the Britain in Bloom judges for Glastonbury in Bloom, and hopefully we schmoozed them sufficiently to succeed. We'll find out in October when we are already booked in to somewhere in Manchester for the awards for Britain in Bloom. I went to Glastonbury Pride, where they had this fantastic rainbow banner going all the way down the street. Excuse me. They had a terrible PA system, so I really admired their perseverance in just keeping going despite the PA system. I went to the Abbey, who was saying farewell to David McGeoch as one of their trustees. And I think on Sunday, there's a farewell to him in St John's Church, if anybody wants to come. They're very keen that Michael and I go fully dressed in our robes to also say goodbye to him. I went to Wells and also Glastonbury for to mark the 79th anniversary of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings. another picture of Testament as MP and Jasmine Brown, the Mayor of Wells, next to me. So a sad, not a sad, but a solemn occasion, just commemorating the 79th anniversary of the bombings. I opened the Goddess Conference, where the colour was green, kind of spring green. I stood out like a sore thumb, being bright red. Probably the only man for 100 miles. But a really happy event downstairs in the town hall. I went to Children's World Festival at Paddington Farm, where the sun shone, a very full day of all sorts of stuff to do. Went to Fisher's Hill 3rd anniversary garden party, and went to the tractor run, where I was pleased to meet Terry's tractor. Oh, and I do Meet the Mayor. Every Tuesday morning, I started Meet the Mayor at the market, which is slowly building up. It's a nice place to hang out and just meet people who come by and to just tune into lots of little stories. So I'm really enjoying being Mayor. It's a real honour and an opportunity, and I thank you for voting me this opportunity. That's the Mayor. Michael and then
thank
Mike.
you. Yeah, I had another Civic, which was Laura Lulu's, the shop on Benedict Street. So I went for their 10th anniversary of trading, and they took some photos and really loved it. Yep. So if you need retro vintage, that's the place to go, especially for plus sizes.
Mike.
Thank you, Randy. I just wondered with regard to David's leaving the service. Unfortunately, I'll be out of town as from tomorrow, visiting mother. But I wondered if it would be appropriate to send a letter of thanks from the whole town council for his years of service, because he's done remarkably well in bringing the community together. And I think it would be good to give him that kind of recognition from the whole town council.
You're proposing that?
I am.
Would anyone like to second it?
I'll do it. I'm there.
Nick? All those in favour? I'm very happy to.
Don't forget to.
All those against? All those abstaining? Is that unanimous? There's
I got
nobody
it as
against
unanimous, Your Worship.
Yeah, thank you.
Compose a letter of thanks for the clerk and sign it on our behalf.
So I can
Do
take.
I need to write that, or would you like to write that, Your Worship?
I'll write it.
Okay.
You could print it. I'll take it. We'll take it on Sunday.
18,
Great.
18 years.
No, sure.
Yeah.
So correspondence, communications and announcements. Margaret first.
Just really to report on Glastonbury in bloom. As the Mayor rightly said, we interviewed, I would say, the judges. It looks as though it's positive, and we had a very positive result. We're able to, this year, we have more sponsors than we've ever had before, and we have had more entries than we have ever had before. And so we're just waiting now with bated breath to find out whether or not we have won anything at all. I'm pretty certain we're going to do well in South West in bloom, but of course we're now in with the big boys, so we have to really wait till October for that. The other thing I'd like to remind everybody is that we actually held a service for Alan Gloak.
Of course,
and we produced the plaque that you can see outside on the wall. His family came to the tribunal for a small speech and really to say thank you, and for us to say thank you for all the years of service that Alan gave. And then we came back here and held another ceremony with a wider group of people outside. And Alan is still missed, and people will have come up to me and said how much they like the plaque and how nice it is to remember him. So that is where we are so far with Glastonbury in bloom.
Brilliant, well done, Margaret.
I forgot that, thank you. Serena?
Yeah, so I was going to ask what's happening with regard to the tribunal, because it seems to be closed quite a lot.
So the reason that there have been gaps in the rota with the tribunal because we haven't had a manager in place. Andrew, the new manager, started today, and that is one of the things that we will be looking at, is plugging some of those gaps in the rota to have it open more. Now, we have been having it open more than the lease requires, but there have been gaps in terms of our level of staffing because we haven't had someone in place. But hopefully, as of today, it was Andrew's. That will be improved.
Any other correspondence, communications or announcements? So any items for news release? Michael and Mike?
Is it worth putting something about Alan Gloak's plaque as a sort of news flash or somewhere?
I think it would certainly be worth doing a piece about the judges coming to visit and how the committee and Sarah and I, who took the judges round, felt that it went and how pleased we were, and also, yes, mention the small ceremony that was held in memory of Alan Gloak. So certainly more than happy to put something together along those lines.
Okay. Michael?
Yeah, again, the letter of thanks, perhaps we could have that as a news release, letter of thanks to David and Georg, as a news release on our website and usual media outlets from Glastonbury Town Council. Thank you.
Okay.
One other thing, can you just say where we're at with our new website?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
I had a meeting with the website designer, Katie and I, on Monday. That was one of the reasons, despite my sore back, that I actually came in on Monday. The website has been designed, it has been built. I have the access to the CMS. I've been putting in the content, but it's not an update of our current website. It's a completely brand new website, so I'm essentially building it from scratch. And I'm hoping come 1st of September, my 3/4 days in the office next week before I go away on holiday to Scotland is almost dedicated solely to the website, and I'm hoping come 1st of September we can make that switch over. The website developer has given me all the information I need to send to our domain supplier to essentially point the domain to the new website rather than the old one. And that will happen at the point that the new website is ready. So 1st of September is my date to have it up and running. It might be a bit of a skeleton website when it first launches. It will have all the information it needs to, and then I will be building on it as the months and years go by. But sort of launching what's called a minimum viable product first. 1st of September is my hopeful deadline.
Thank you.
On it, it's beautiful.
Yeah, good.
I've got Terry and then Indra.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's a personal thing, actually, but I'm desperately concerned about what is happening in Palestine. And I know we've got the people out on the market square with the flags, and I just wonder whether we can give them some support, because I think what is happening out there could reverberate back onto us with the desperate things which are going on there. And like I say, it is a bit political, but I am concerned that Palestine is and these guys need some support, I think. And I personally would like to see that, because I think some of the things which are going on. I mean, there's one toilet for, I know, 6,000 people, which I can't comprehend. And I just would like to see some support for these guys out there. Yeah, it is personal, but
should you maybe bring it as a motion next month, so it goes on the agenda?
If that would help, yes.
I'll second it. You do the motion, I'll second it.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
With this new government, there seems to be a new philosophy coming through, which I would like to see promoted, obviously. But whether it will be or not, I don't know. But I'm desperately concerned about it.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Anything else, Indra?
Just very briefly, I know this is on the website because I saw it. Could this be a news item that this is what we're promoting?
Oh, the Buskers Code.
Yeah, I know it's on the
Yeah, why
website
not?
already,
No,
but
no,
maybe
good.
just give it a bit of a...
Cool. So, to review actions from the meeting.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I will take the feedback that obviously you've all mentioned regards the logo for the promotion of Glastonbury. I'll work with Matt to refine that and around an updated version once we've agreed on something. I've got a couple of ideas that we'll look to see how they work, and then we'll look to use an updated version. So I've made those notes. I've made a note to. This is where I should have been using green pen. So to update that logo, that the Town Council has agreed that asset and service devolution is its focus until that is complete. We will liaise with the South West Heritage Trust through the working group and myself to come to an agreement on their grant. The recommendations that have been agreed, I will follow through with the outcome of those recommendations. And I think that, to be honest, Your Worship, it's quite light in terms of actions, but there are a number of other operational actions that I need to action, such as discussing with Councillor Cottle about council tax and business rates.
Have you got the toilets as well?
Well, that's something that's continuing. Yeah.
Okay, so the next meeting will be on Tuesday, the 10th of September at 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
I declare the meeting closed.
Thank you.
Well done.
Just before 9:30. Good.
Well done, they'll be within 1 minute of our time.
I know, yeah.
Not bad.